In the dawn of the 13th century, the world trembled on the edge of transformation. Across the endless expanse of the Mongolian steppe, where the grass bends under bitter winds and the horizon never ends, a new power stirred. His name was Temüjin, but history would remember him as Genghis Khan, the universal ruler. Born into hardship, betrayed by allies, left to starve with his family, he emerged from the ashes of tribal chaos to unite the Mongol clans under one banner. He forged not merely an army, but a weapon of civilization itself, one that would thunder across Asia and Europe, leaving empires shattered in its wake. What made him unstoppable were not numbers or weapons, but ideas. 5 deadliest tactics that redefined the art of war. Tactics so revolutionary that echoes of them still shape military strategy today. 1. The tongue of lightning: mobility and speed. The first and perhaps greatest weapon of the Mongols was movement. The art of striking faster, farther, and with greater precision than any army before or since. Each warrior carried multiple horses, switching mounts every few hours to maintain stamina. They traveled light leather armor, bows, rations of dried meat, and lived off the land and their herds. Their movements were so fluid, so unpredictable, that no map could contain them. To the sedentary civilizations of China, Persia, or Russia, they seemed not like men, but like a natural disaster, a living storm that appeared and vanished without warning. When Genghis Khan invaded the Khwarezmian Empire in 1219, his armies crossed the frozen Tian Shan Mountains in winter, a feat no one believed possible. The defenders expected attack in spring, yet when the snows melted, the Mongols were already behind them. By the time word reached the capital, entire cities had fallen in days. At Bukhara, Mongol cavalry encircled the city before dawn, striking from multiple directions. By sunset, the gates were burning. This was not conquest by siege, it was conquest by momentum. Mobility became the Mongols' greatest language, a lightning strike that spoke across continents. The world learned too late. To stand still before the storm was to perish. 2. The mirror of fear: intelligence and psychological warfare. Speed broke armies, but fear conquered nations. Genghis Khan understood that war was not won by the sword alone, it was won first in the mind. Before his armies ever appeared, his scouts Noyans and Mergen had already mapped enemy terrain, intercepted couriers, and spread rumors of an invincible horde. They turned uncertainty into terror. When the Mongols approached a city, they often offered a single choice: submit and live, or resist and vanish. Those who surrendered were spared and sometimes absorbed into the empire. Those who resisted were obliterated so completely that word of their fate became legend. The city of Nishapur in Persia resisted after a Mongol garrison was slain. In retaliation, the city was annihilated, tens of thousands executed. The message spread like wildfire: resistance meant extinction. In the following campaigns, entire cities surrendered without a single arrow loosed. To the west, at Kalka River in 1223, the Mongols feigned retreat for days, drawing a massive Rus army into pursuit. When the Russians finally caught up, they found the Mongols waiting in perfect formation and the trap closed. The enemy was slaughtered, and the survivors released only to spread tales of horror. The Mongols weaponized reputation itself. They became a myth that preceded their own armies, a mirror in which enemies saw only their doom. 3. The wave of iron: organization and discipline. Yet behind the chaos, there was a terrifying order. What looked like wild horsemen was in fact the most organized fighting machine of the medieval world. Genghis Khan structured his forces by the decimal system: units of 10 Arban, 100 Jaghan, 1,000 Mingan, and 10,000 T-men. Each man was accountable not only to his commander but to his brothers in arms. Disobedience was punished by death, courage was rewarded with promotion, regardless of birth. Every soldier carried a code: loyalty, unity, and silence. If one deserted, 10 paid the price. If one fell, 10 avenged him. When the Mongols faced the Jin dynasty in northern China, this organization became devastating. Unlike the lumbering Chinese armies divided by court factions and slow logistics, the Mongols moved as a single, disciplined organism. Orders passed by relay riders traveled hundreds of miles in hours. Entire armies turned and struck in unison, like the head and tail of a single serpent. Even supply chains were calculated. Herds of horses and flocks of sheep followed the army, ensuring constant mobility. The discipline was so absolute that the Mongols could coordinate campaigns across thousands of kilometers. As in the simultaneous invasions of Khwarezm, Karakatai, and Shishia, executed with mathematical precision. This was no horde of barbarians, it was the birth of military modernity. A wave of iron that could bend but never break. 4. The hammer on stone siege and conquest. Nomads were supposed to vanish before the walls of cities, but Genghis Khan turned even that weakness into strength. When the Mongols encountered stone fortifications, the proud cities of Zhongdu, modern Beijing, or Samarkand, they did not retreat. They adapted. They learned siegecraft from captured engineers, Persians, Chinese, and Muslims. Within years, their armies could deploy mangonels, catapults, and even early gunpowder bombs. At Zhongdu, the Mongols surrounded the city with walls of their own, cutting it off from the world. They filled moats, starved defenders, and rained stones and fire until the city fell. Those who survived saw the discipline of nomads merged with the science of civilization, the horse and the engineer working as one. Later, against the Khwarezmian stronghold of Urgench, Genghis Khan ordered the Amu Darya River to be diverted, drowning part of the city itself. Nature became a weapon, harnessed by human will. These sieges were not only military victories. They symbolized the evolution of the Mongol Empire from raiders to rulers, from steppe to city. The hammer had learned to strike stone. 5. The noose of fate, encirclement and multi-front strategy. The final and most lethal of Genghis Khan's tactics was the art of control, the ability to choreograph an entire battlefield as if it were a single living map. The Mongols mastered the tuluma, or encirclement maneuver, a feigned retreat that drew the enemy forward until the wings closed around them, forming an inescapable trap. At the Battle of the Indus River 1221, against the fleeing Shah of Khwarezm, the Mongols struck with 3 converging columns across hundreds of miles, each moving independently yet arriving within days of one another. There was no single front, no fixed line, only the tightening noose. In Central Asia, entire campaigns were fought this way. One army pursued, another flanked, and a third appeared suddenly from the rear. Enemies fought shadows, never knowing where the real army stood until the end. Even after Genghis Khan's death, his generals perfected this art. At Mohi 1241 in Hungary, the Mongols drew the European knights across a river, trapped them on a bridge, and crushed them between 2 synchronized forces. It was not a battle of courage, it was a lesson in geometry. The noose of fate closed with silent precision until there was nowhere left to run. By the time Genghis Khan died in 1227, his empire stretched from the Pacific Ocean to the Caspian Sea, the largest contiguous land empire in human history. His successors carried his methods even farther, into Russia, the Middle East, and Eastern Europe. But his true legacy was not territory, it was transformation. He turned warfare from chaos into system. He replaced blind conquest with coordination, mobility, and intelligence. He made the world smaller, linking the Silk Road under one rule, opening the flow of goods, ideas, and disease alike. To some, he was the destroyer of worlds. To others, the great unifier of the steppe. But no one, not his allies, not his enemies, not the centuries that followed, could deny his genius. As the sun sinks over the Mongolian plains, wind rippling through endless grass, the ghost of the empire lingers still. The hooves have long fallen silent, yet the rhythm remains in strategy, in statecraft, in the very idea of motion as power. Genghis Khan's 5 deadliest tactics were not just instruments of war. They were blueprints for dominance, psychological, structural, and eternal. The lightning of mobility, the mirror of fear, the wave of iron, the hammer on stone, the noose of fate. Together, they forged the empire of echoes, an empire that began with one man, one vision, and one question whispered to the winds of eternity. What is strength if not the will to move the world?